Dear friends, I feel happy and privileged to speak on Mother Aloysia, a great and inspiring educationist of the early 20th century. If Venerable Mother Veronica is the founder of the Apostolic Carmel congregation, let me add that Mother Aloysia is the founder of education, the main apostolate of our congregation. It's because of our far-sighted vision, today we have educational institutions all over India, Sri Lanka, East Africa and other parts of the world. What is remarkable even today is that the stamp of Mother Aloysia's vision, the imprimatur, is found in faith formation of students, importance given for their all-round development, good and legible handwriting, the golden hour, namely the reading habit, the various methods of teaching initiated by her, the Apostolic Carmel educational policies, maintenance of registers and other documents, and many other requisites related to education found either in writings or handed over to us by the pioneering sisters and through them to all of us and our faculty members. That's why Mother Aloysia's legacy is alive to this day, and she remains alive in our hearts and in our apostolate of education. Mother Aloysia, nee Mary Pia Rosario, was born in Honavar, North Karnataka in 1855. In fact, they are the descendants of Portuguese. Her father, Lazarus Salvador Rosario, was a sub-judge and her mother, Rita Pacheco, a homemaker. God blessed them with 12 children. The family was so pious and disciplined that among the girls, 4 joined the Apostolic Carmel congregation and 2 boys to the Society of Jesus, and eventually their mother, Rita Pacheco, became a cloistered nun. In 1859, the family moved to Mangalore and settled at Pandeshwar near Rosario Cathedral Church. In 1862, Mary Pia, at the age of 7, entered the boarding school at St. Anne's run by the Sisters of St. Joseph of the Apparition. Thereafter, she went to Cananore for her further studies, and it is here she met Bishop Mary Ephraim. She was a boarder and pupil teacher during the years 1867 to 1873. The only regular study Mary had was in the European school, where she became proficient in French as well. The following year, she was entrusted with the charge of the highest class in the school, a role which she acquitted herself very well. She then qualified privately for teacher's middle school grade examination, which she completed very successfully. Though still a student, she was teaching catechism to the children. Looking at her, the bishop perceived her vocation to religious life and placed his hands on her head and predicted her vocation to the Apostolic Carmel. He said, Mary Pia would be an Apostolic Carmelite and bear the name Sister Mary Aloysia of the Sacred Heart. She discovered her vocation to religious life here. Strange are God's ways. Meanwhile, the Sisters of the Apostolic Carmel arrive at Mangalore in 1870. Bishop Mary Ephraim dies in April 1873, and Mary Pia Rosario joins the convent as a postulant at St. Anne's Convent in May 1873. She is given the name Sister Mary Aloysia of the Sacred Heart by Mother Marie Desange, the first Superior General of the Apostolic Carmel. Strange but true that the prophecy of Bishop Mary Ephraim and God's plan is fulfilled in the life of Mary Pia. It would be true to say that Mary Pia Rosario was catapulted into her life as teacher and trainer. When she was only in her teens, the whole responsibility of the school was on her young shoulders. As a postulant, she was appointed headmistress of the school. She had to reorganize and manage the school. triple responsibilities she had to shoulder at this young age when she was just a teenager: a teacher, headmistress, and her religious training, postulancy, and later novitiate training. She was not only the life and soul of the school, but its moving genius, said one of her students. She balanced being the headmistress of the school and the more arduous training of the novitiate. She stood the test of time, and on 26 July 1875, on the feast of St. Anne, she made her first profession. After her profession, Sister Aloysia took all the responsibilities of her teacher with greater fervor and in appreciation of her vocation. Although she was neither learned in the ordinary sense of the word, nor widely read in the literary, Sister Aloysia was exceedingly shrewd in the training of children and especially of teachers. As the headmistress of the school, Sister Aloysia soon developed it from being a middle school into a high school. In the year 1879, Sister Aloysia was appointed assistant to Mother Marie Desange, the first Superior General of the Apostolic Carmel Congregation. This is just 4 years after her first profession. Since Mother Marie Desange knew only French, Mother Aloysia became a strong support to her, as she was well versed both in French and English and assisted her in all her administration for 35 years. Mother Aloysia was essentially a self-made woman who could never rest contented with being a back number. Very few were the facilities for education during her time. She possessed a wonderful intuitive genius for educating herself and others. She urged and encouraged the old and the young to do all that they could to gain knowledge, adding that intellectual and spiritual progress were closely connected. The driving principle of Mother Aloysia is seen in her own advice to her religious sisters and staff. Never live in contented ignorance, nor rest satisfied with the knowledge gained yesterday. She ever had her fingers on the pulse of the times and marched onwards, requiring the same of her staff. She said, "Teaching with us is no lucrative hobby, but the very essence of our constitutions." She introduced into the daily routine of the sisters what she aptly termed the golden hour, the hour devoted to reading according to one's taste. And then she required them to take down notes, without which she said they could not derive the fullest benefit from their reading. She was a teacher and educationist par excellence. She was very particular of the good and legible handwriting. She believed that the character of a person is revealed in their handwriting. Hence, she insisted on copywriting for those whose handwriting was not good. The initiative and enthusiasm of their headmistress spurred on not only to the teachers but also to the pupils to a more intense application to study, so that within a year the strength of the school increased to 160 on rolls against the 40s of the previous years. The school under her care grew in strength, so much so that it received well-merited praise from the Director of Public Instruction, who said in the inspector report that the Directorate is not surprised at the excellence of the report. Not only had St. Anne's School grown, but the good results achieved were noteworthy. She would spend her time in the evening training the teachers with her own innovative, self-taught methods of teaching, suggesting ways and means to sustain the children's attention and lead them to solve the difficulties for themselves. She spared neither time nor trouble to raise the efficiency of the teachers under her. This is because they were not trained teachers. There was no training school till she started the Teachers' Training School in 1890, the first of its kind in South India, and for many years it was the only teachers' training school in South India. Apart from her wonderful teaching powers, her intuition, her wide experience, and her knowledge of many things were a priceless educational influence. Many times, her teachers and students remarked, "It is surprising how versatile she was. You could have gone to her with any difficulty, literary, religious, or any others, and there Sister Aloysia was with a ready and lucid solution. She would not, for any difficulty in the way, put back the hand of the clock of progress, but would push onwards enthusiastically. Her infectious spirit was caught both by her teachers and students, and they responded most sympathetically to her leadership. She trusted her charges, and she knew how to descend with dignity to the level of her students without fearing loss of authority or growing in familiarity. Put your children on their honor, impose responsibility, and insist they make decision and assume initiative on their own. The small children to prepare concerts on special occasions, and the older girls literary hours, so that they might play their literary and artistic talents and their inventive powers. Let me conclude the first part of the talk here and continue the second part in the next video.